Welcome to FranCoach's Franchising 101 podcast series. Here we talk about all things franchising. What is it all about? Is it for you? How do you find the best one to own? And so much more. Now your host, Tim Parmeter.
Hello, everyone, and thanks again for tuning in to the latest edition of FranCoach's Franchising 101 podcast. I am Tim Parmeter, founder and CEO of FranCoach and your Franchising 101 host. Today, we have another one of our franchise partners joining us today to talk about their brand and even kind of some of their sisters that they have. We're going to get a little quick mention of them, but really focus on one brand. And again, kind of in a broad sector that I just dearly love, which is home service. It's unsexy as all get out, but can be highly lucrative, low investments, easy to scale, all those great buzzwords. See how I got buzz in there for you already, buddy? Before we get to all of that and our guests, quick reminder of who we are. FranCoach is a national search firm dedicated to working with individuals like yourself interested in owning a franchise. We're partnered with well over 600 franchises now, and it spans about 70 different industries. Our goal is to help clients find the absolute best franchise for them to own. And the goal of the Franchising 101 series is to help educate people on all aspects of franchise ownership. So that's us. Now time for the good stuff. And our guest today is the Director of Franchise Development for our featured brand, which is called Home Clean Heroes, Mr. Austin James. Austin, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you, Tim. Really appreciate the opportunity to talk more about the business model. And thanks for having us. I really do appreciate it.
No, my pleasure, man. And I mean, you might want to see how this goes first before you thank me for that. But we've got a bunch of stuff to talk about, Home Clean Heroes in particular. But the first question isn't about the brand because we only kind of care about them. We're more about the people. So the spotlight's on you to begin with, brother. Tell us how you got started into this wonderful and crazy industry that is franchising.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been a whirlwind for sure. I've enjoyed my experience in franchising and been going at it for about 4 years now. So I actually kind of fell into franchising when I was kind of finishing up my college days up at James Madison University. I actually interned a bit for Buzz Franchise Brands and really just kind of fell in love with the company culture and also just the idea of franchising in general. It's a really cool industry that we get a chance to really help people to enable and realize their dreams through business ownership. So kind of served in a couple different capacities across those 4 years. But now today I spend most of my time really educating potential candidates on all of our business opportunities, really helping them understand, what it takes to be successful. And ideally, give them all the information to really make an informed decision. And it's a fun thing to do. And I get a chance, of course, working with great franchise consultants such as yourself, Tim. So it's been a great 4 years, and I absolutely love the industry and everything that we're all about together within this world of franchising.
No, and I appreciate you sharing that. And you even said that for I just kind of fell into it, right?
Yeah.
Is basically everybody I ask that question to in franchising. It is some version of it's some version of that, right? And once you get in and it cracks me up. My story is no different. It's just complete dumb luck. And then almost 8 years later, here we are, running this thing, helping all these people. Built this podcast with a good 6 or 7 followers now. So it's crazy, but I love that story, and I think your background within. We're going to talk about Home Clean Heroes, but the Buzz brands in general of just you've seen already multiple sides of franchising, sure. Right? And so when you're talking to prospective candidates, it's not every now and then I think people they're trying to sell me on the franchise. No, they're trying to sell you on the benefits and the virtues of the franchise, but they're also trying to vet you to see if you're a match. And you've been on all those different sides. It really kind of helps you just, kind of know what you're talking about because you've been around the block with the different brands already, which is really cool.
Yeah, for sure. And, I even spent kind of the first few years more on the operations side of the business. So, directly supporting franchisees, kind of in a coaching and analytics capacity, which Of course, is a good thing to understand, is that's a big part of the franchisee franchisor relationship. And, to your point, this is very much a mutual evaluation. And, finding that perfect match with candidates is a great thing when it happens. So it's definitely a lot of fun, like I mentioned earlier.
And I don't think this is specific to franchising, but sales departments and operations departments don't always see eye to eye, right? And so again, I think your background's kind of starting there. Okay, what do you really need from a candidate to come in and be a successful owner? I think that's a great perspective that not everybody has. So super cool. So enough about you. Who cares? All right. So let's talk about home clean heroes. And so we'll get into business model and support and owner and all that stuff. It's kind of maybe a little bit obvious with the name of Home Clean. Talk about the services that are provided by Home Clean Heroes and kind of who are their prospective customers.
Yeah, absolutely. So Home Clean Heroes, we're a residential cleaning franchise. So we're typically, working with individual households, and, our bread and butter is the, weekly, biweekly, and the recurring service side of the residential cleaning space. So, the vast majority of our customers, we're getting into their house and we're doing a full deep clean every single week, or every other week for that matter. We, of course, have some one-time customers here and there, folks that just want us to do a deep clean, maybe in the springtime, or if they've got family coming over. We also do a lot of move in, move out cleans from time to time too, but, really kind of focused more on that recurring side of the business model, which is something that we love about this business model in general. It's all about creating those long-term relationships with your customer. And, once you build that relationship, it provides a very consistent source of revenue, for you as the business owner. And it's, very much a people person business. The more that you can, have that customer service mindset and build those relationships, that's really the way to scale this into a really, long-term growth business opportunity. But that's pretty much what we do. It's a simple business model. It's pretty quick to get a new franchisee up to speed. And we, of course, support with all ends of the, initial onboarding and training, and of course, ongoing support too, which I'm sure we'll dig into here in a few seconds. But
yeah.
That's the quick 50,000-foot view on it.
No, very cool. So the business model perspective, let's say hypothetically that I am the biggest slob on the planet, right? So I'm we're about to film an episode of Hoarders out there in the rest of my house, right? So, and just I'll point the camera. Well, my 9-year-old's here this week, so maybe I won't point the camera out there, right? But let's say I'm this enormous slob. Can I own a cleaning franchise? Clearly, I don't know anything about cleaning. Do I need to know about that? Do I need to be good at it? Do I need to be able to do it myself as an owner? What's that look like from your perspective?
No, not at all. I mean, our average franchisee is, they're not buying a job with Home Clean Heroes, right? They're not going to be the ones that are out in the field doing the service and doing the grunt work. We like our franchisees to hire cleaning specialists, and, we call them heroes, to actually go out and do that work in the field. So for the franchisees, their time is really more spent, being the leader of that team and, being the face of their business, right? Really spending a lot of time working with customers, building those relationships, doing some of that local marketing and being the face of their business, and really, creating that culture for the team that fosters that long-term growth. So point being, if you join Home Clean Heroes, we're not expecting you to be out in the field cleaning homes every single day, nor do we want you, because your time is better in the office.
I was going to say, not only do you not expect it, that is not what you're doing. And I think that's just franchising in general. And the name of this podcast is Franchising 101 for many reasons. One, I wasn't smart enough to think of anything else, but two is just that really the basic education. And I think there's that misconception that you need all this industry experience. You need to be really good being the doer. And every now and then that's the case. But I mean, easily 95% of the opportunities out there, it's just what you're talking about. Like, no, you're not going to clean the house. You're that people person connecting in the community, building your staff, building those customer relationships. So what does that staff look like? Because everybody now wants to talk about staffing and labor and blah blah blah, right? Which I think is a little overblown at times. But what's we're also not talking about, we don't need 5,000 square foot of retail space and this huge inventory and perishables and all these things that we get in a lot of bigger franchises. What does it look like from that team standpoint to start out for an owner?
Yeah, so that's another great thing about the business model is it's very scalable, right? So it's relatively easy to get into from an investment level, but also kind of quick to scale as you start adding those recurring customers. So the average franchisee will typically start with either 1 or 2 trucks. We call them hero mobiles, and typically it's a 2-person team for each individual truck. So you're looking at probably anywhere from, depending where you start, anywhere from about 3 to 5 cleaning specialists out of the gate. And then usually the franchisee is, the one handling everything in the office. So all the sort of administrative work, over time, you may eventually hire some more office staff to facilitate with that. Whether that's an admin position or kind of like a call center type role. But usually you'll kind of start with, that team of 3 to 5 cleaning specialists.
Gotcha.
And they can come from a lot of different backgrounds. It's not a super technical position. And we, of course, have a, very detailed training program to train those new cleaning specialists that franchisees bring on board.
And you mentioned the word office, but we don't necessarily even need one at the beginning. Could this start from a home office and then grow into maybe something a little bit bigger?
It can start from home. One thing that we tell candidates or franchisees is, expect to get a small warehouse space within the first year. At some point, as your fleet starts to grow and as your inventory starts to grow, you're probably going to grow out of your office or garage space. And the big thing is having a place to park those vehicles, right? Especially if you live in an HOA, you're going to want to think about kind of having that small space. But again, this is not a fancy brick and mortar store. No customers will be going to that location. It's really more or less a place to park those vehicles and just have a centralized location for you and your team to meet up and close out the day.
Yeah.
So with our local business here, we've got probably 400 square feet in the warehouse out back, and that's more than enough space to house all the equipment.
Yeah, and those are, again, we're not talking about Class A real estate at the corner of Main and Main, right? So, and I think you talk about parking the vehicles. I always talk to folks about, like, do you want to be interviewing people at your kitchen table, right?
Exactly.
Let me help you with that. No, right?
Yeah.
So,
some people are comfortable with that, others aren't. So it's just a matter of preference, I suppose.
No, I think to me, one of the perks of owning a franchise like Home Clean Heroes is every person. Now, this is me. I'm sure this isn't in the business model, but if you want a job, first you're going to apply by cleaning my house, right?
Yep.
And if they do a good job, then we'll hire them, and then my house is always being cleaned. So that's just where
I love it.
I don't know if you want to throw that in the business model. That's the FranCoach hiring method. So. Hey everyone, I wanted to take a quick break from our podcast to tell you about our amazing friends at Entrepreneur. If you're looking to become a franchisee or simply learn more about business ownership, and guys, let's be honest, you're listening to the Franchising 101 podcast, so we know you have some interest in this. And I really encourage you to go to entrepreneur.com to check out all of their great content and resources. Seriously, Entrepreneur has everything, all the way from a bookstore to the best podcasts, webinars, and videos, plus information on upcoming events and the latest articles that seriously, they cover all aspects of franchising and business ownership. If you're having trouble deciding which franchise is right for you, start with Entrepreneur's renowned Franchise 500 ranking, which highlights the best franchises of 2022. For 45 years and counting now, Entrepreneur has been and continues to be the most widely recognized and respected authority in the franchise market. Digital and print subscriptions are available, so you never miss out on anything. So seriously, what are you waiting for? Go to entrepreneur.com right now and learn more. the name of the franchise has the word heroes in it. You've used that a couple times. But I think there's some things like surface level franchises are rarely what they are like underneath. Yes, it's residential cleaning. No, that's not going to win the award for sexiest business on the planet. Never, ever going to go out of style. And though there are some people that don't see that as a need, I'm one gazillion percent see that as a need that I am going to pay somebody to come in and do that. Right. So on the surface, it's simplistic, and that can be a beautiful thing. It's a need. It's never going out of style. But behind the scenes, you guys have a cool culture. And talk a little bit about the hero portion and some of the things that you guys are really doing and kind of the relationships you're fostering in the community.
Yeah, for sure. So, when we originally kind of set out and built this brand from the ground up, we wanted to kind of just, put ourselves in a different spot within, a rather dated industry. So we wanted to kind of put a fresh approach on just the business name in general. So, traditionally within this space, you're going to see the word made, kind of plastered everywhere. And, we just candidly, we view everything that we do and our cleaning specialists as more than just made. So, we kind of built the brand around that mentality and, kind of settled with Home Clean Heroes. But, from there, we really wanted to kind of just, even take another step and just, really kind of give back to the community in other ways that, traditionally this space doesn't see. So we built kind of a philanthropic layer to the brand called Heroes First. And basically through Heroes First, we've partnered with a national nonprofit called the First Responders Children's Foundation. And that organization, basically helps families of struggling first responders across the entire country. So through that program, every franchisee and every service that we do, we actually donate a percentage of our revenue towards that organization. So, basically how it works is the franchisee will kick in 50 cents from each clean, and then the corporate office will match the other 50 cents. So we're effectively donating $1 from every single service that we do towards that organization. And all of those donations are tracked at the franchisee level. So over time, franchisees can actually support people in their local markets that struggling or in need some additional support. So it's a great partnership. It really kind of sets us apart from our competitors within the space. We're truly kind of the only really purpose-driven residential cleaning business out there. And that really helps us from a marketing and just differentiation standpoint. Our customers absolutely love that we're giving back to the community like that, and it's something that we're very passionate about. And of course, it's a big need in our communities. So it definitely is a great partnership with that organization we've partnered with.
No, and I love it, and I think any franchise you can get out and you can and probably should try to do some things to help in the community, but that this is again really coming from the franchisor. Everybody involved is with this, and you don't have to be a first responder or a family of a first responder to be an owner to appreciate the work and the sacrifice they do. And again, like frankly, if like you don't want to try to help out somebody else in your community, then like again, I think that's super cool what you guys are doing. And let's be honest, like those connections, it's going to help raise brand awareness as well, right? So there is always a little benefit back, but doing the right thing is never bad or wrong. It's always going to come back to you some way, shape, or form. So super cool on that. Want to go back to the owner for a second, because you guys have something that is not super common in home service, right? Most all home service things, the owner absolutely positively has to be full-time in the business. You guys have a pathway for somebody to be more semi-absentee. Talk about some of the support mechanisms maybe you have in place to help just owners in general, but certainly from that semi-absentee standpoint.
Yeah, absolutely. So, from the support side, I mean, that's something that we're very good at here at Home Clean Heroes. Given our strong parent company, which is Buzz Franchise Brands, we basically have access to a, huge support team across all of our brands. And that comes in a lot of different, arenas too. So everything from marketing to, operations, business coaching, finance and analytics. We have a huge team in-house that supports every franchisee. So a lot of support from corporate on all those day-to-day operational tasks. The semi-absentee model can definitely be done successfully. And it's basically the same exact business model from the owner-operator, standpoint. The big difference, of course, is, we have franchisees essentially hire a qualified GM, or general manager, pretty much from the get-go. And that GM will basically come with the franchise owner through the initial training program. And of course, they're going to be supported by, the business coaches, the marketing team as well, too. So, and, usually in that manager run scenario, we still like the franchisee to have involvement in the day-to-day operations. Kind of the sweet spot that we see is about, 20 to 25 hours per week. And those hours are really spent kind of, what we call managing the manager, right? Overseeing the bigger picture, working with us at corporate on the strategic, growth and planning, and really just kind of, doing and being the face of the business sort of behind the scenes. So that's how it can be done successfully, is kind of by, hiring that GM and getting both the owner and the GM up to speed on how to run the business successfully.
Yep. No, nice. And so talk a little, we mentioned Buzz Brands, and you've got a couple sister franchises, which we'll have to get you back on another time to talk about those. But just give us maybe kind of go ahead and mention for anybody that's not actually seeing the podcast as well with your banners behind you, right? But give us a quick peek at those two, and then some of the benefits of, because Home Clean Heroes is newer, right? There's we're still under that 100 unit threshold. That's kind of like in franchising, you hit to 100 units, you're like a grown up now, right? So we're still in that, but so you've got all of this open space around the country for people to come in and get great territories, have multiple of them, and really scale. But you've also now taken away the fear a little bit of, they're new, they don't know what they're doing, because now we've got the parent company of Buzz Brands, and we've got the sister. So with sister brands. So talk about that just a tiny bit.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's actually a big month for us. Buzz Franchise Brands, we're celebrating our 10th year in franchising this September. And that goes all the way back to our original days with Mosquito Joe. That was the first brand that we kind of started and scaled here at the corporate level. But then we eventually kind of, branched into a few other verticals. And our brands today consist of course, Home Clean Heroes, one of our younger brands. We have Pool Scouts, which is a pool cleaning and maintenance company. And then our largest brand today is British Swim School, which is basically a swim school for children. And just recently, we actually are in the process of launching a fourth brand, still kind of in the works and getting up to speed. But that's going to be a brand called Grand Illuminations, which is basically a seasonal holiday lighting business. So those are kind of the four brands underneath BFB, or Buzz Franchise Brands today. So we've got a ton of experience, across the corporate team. We essentially have a shared services model. So basically what that means is there's a team at the Buzz level that basically supports all the brands that we operate. So things like, digital marketing, SEO, direct mail, finance and analytics, like I mentioned. There's an entire team that kind of supports each individual brand. But then each brand also has their independent management teams. So, Home Clean Heroes, right? There's a whole team of operations and marketing folks that will support specifically for Home Clean Heroes. So, for Home Clean Heroes, it's, we're a young system. We just onboarded our 12th franchisee earlier this week. But even with 12 franchisees, our owners have access to, over 30 employees here at corporate from a support standpoint, which is typically not something that you see for an emerging brand.
Right.
But we're very fortunate to have that strong backing from Buzz Franchise Brands. So they enable us to kind of provide that extra degree and level of support to our owners.
Yeah, no. What they typically with a micro emerging situation like that with Home Clean Heroes, it would be like you in your garage and maybe an admin, right? So, and not that you can't still be successful with that, because that happens all the time, but it's just that added layer, really layers of support of Buzz Brands, and then your sister ones, which are still Pool Scouts in particular, is home service, British Swim School, is, I mean, it's kid focused, but again, a lot of that is so those kids can go back to their pool at home and swim again safely, right? So
Yeah,
super.
and I mean, I can even go a bit further. I mean, the recipe for success for us. I mean, when we look at different business models, there's a few characteristics that are kind of common across all the brands. For us, we love that low investment, sort of low cost to entry. All three of our or four of our brands are under 150,000 initial investment. They're all non-brick and mortar. Even the swim school, we're renting pool space, not building a facility, and they're all focused on recurring revenue. So that kind of builds a really nice recipe for success and long-term growth, which is, really our sweet spot for us here at Buzz Franchise Brands.
And easy for somebody that wants to grow. Again, you want to grow with Home Clean Heroes and have multiple territories. Have at it. You can spread out, right? But you want to grow an empire and own multiple brands. Well, you could go, own a McDonald's also. But if you're Home Clean Heroes and maybe it's also Pool Scouts and vice versa, right? So those type of things, it really gives people an easy way to grow and scale into huge empires with this, right? So I love it, man. And again, I know you're busy. I appreciate all your time. But I got one last thing before we let you off the hook here.
Yeah.
Is just in like and appreciate learning all about Home Clean Heroes, a little on Buzz Brands. You teased us on a couple of others that we'll have to get you back for, but specific to Home Clean Heroes, is there anything else that you would want us to know that maybe we haven't touched on yet?
No, I mean, I think we've touched on a lot of them. Whenever I talk with candidates, it's always, helping them understand the importance of the business model that you're getting into, right? One of the things I love about Home Clean Heroes is, to your point, it is a very tried and true business model, right? When you're evaluating different opportunities, you want to think about, where is that business going to be in the next 5 to 10 years, right? Is a new technology going to come in and replace that service? And are you going to be pushed out of the market? And that's really not the case with Home Clean Heroes, right? It's a manual job. It's an essential service that is increasing in demand each and every year. We're kind of in this scenario today where you've got both heads of the household that are working full-time jobs. There's more disposable income, and people just don't have time or, the desire to clean their house after a long day of work. So, we're seeing that, obviously, that demand increase each and every year. And the recurring revenue piece. I mean, that's one of the keys to that long-term successful business. We're getting customers, and we've had, with our local business, we've had some customers that we've been servicing on a weekly basis since pretty much day one from our original start back in 2017. So, that's really a strong recipe for success, like I've been getting at. And it's a fun brand. It's relatively simple to operate. It's quick to get up to speed. And there's a huge growth potential. And, of course, giving back to the community all on top of that is a great way to, feel good about the business that you're getting into. So that's really what we're passionate about.
No, I love it. And then I think that's, again, sometimes the simple things like, oh, that's really simple. Yes, right. Simple. It's not going away. And if you just simply come in and do a good job, like you mentioned, you'll have customers for life, right?
Yeah.
And because again, you don't have a Home Clean Heroes where I am. Otherwise, I would be a customer. But I have a cleaning crew. They come in every 2 weeks and they do a good job. And like, as long as they do a good job, I will be a customer. I'm not going anywhere, right? And again, then you just keep building and building and building from there. So this is awesome, man. Austin, I appreciate you hopping on here today to chat with us.
Absolutely. I appreciate the opportunity to chat with you today. And I hope that this was helpful for folks considering different franchise opportunities. And certainly, if you ever have any questions, feel free to reach out to Tim and his team, and would be happy to talk more about the opportunity.
What a great segue way to do my job. So for all of our loyal listeners, I hope this provides some insight into franchising and all the opportunities. If you'd like to learn more about maybe becoming a Home Clean Heroes owner or just ownership in general, you can find us online, FranCoach.net. our podcast site, franchising101podcast.net. Hit us up online. Either way, let's get a first call scheduled. Never, ever any fee for our service. So we encourage you to take that first step to create your better tomorrow. Thanks everybody for joining us, and we'll catch up with you next week. Thanks so much.
Thanks for listening to FranCoach's Franchising 101 podcast, where our ultimate goal is to help educate you on all things franchising so you can create your better tomorrow.